he is part of. But now when we politicize it, when it becomes weaponized, I think it may bring some issues based on my survey. The other issue is the whole idea of use of provincial administration in this BBI process. We respect provincial administration. They assist the government in delivering key matters of government at the grassroots level. But on the other hand, if you have a problem with your health, you go to a doctor, not to a lawyer. If you have a court case, you don't go to an architect, you go to a lawyer. So in the same manner, on matters selling this political document called BBI, I would imagine it makes sense for government to use elected leaders as opposed to use state machinery. That is the feedback that I got from the people down there. Finally, a good idea is a good idea, notwithstanding that idea is coming from which faction. I say so because there are some very innovative ideas that have been given out. But because they come from a certain political faction, people do not want to entertain those ideas. Two ideas came from a certain political faction. Number one, we postpone this referendum up to 2022. Personally, I think that may not be tenable. And the reason is, if we do that, we may encounter some constitutional problems, which includes we need to have constituencies now so that people can vie and get elected in the year 2022. But if we wait up to 2022, then definitely we shall not enjoy the benefits of the new constituencies. Again also, remember the revenue sharing formula that was passed by the Senate. It was predicated on the understanding that we are going to increase more monies to the devolved units. So therefore, if for any reason we don't devolve more money, then the third generation revenue sharing formula will be rendered nugatory. So therefore, I agree that we need to finalize the issue of BBI now. However, there is the idea of multiple choice referendum. For me, notwithstanding the proponents of that idea, there is some merit in that idea. Why? It guarantees at the very basic minimum that BBI will pass. Because it's the whole idea of giving an array of options to Kenyans. So you give them certain options. If this option is good, they pass it. If this one is bad, they don't. So at the basic minimum, you will find some clauses will have been embedded in the Constitution, as opposed to voting yes and no, where you run the risk of the entire document getting lost. Let me say that from where I sit, we must support the government. We must ensure the good work that His Excellency Uhuru Kang'Ata is doing is finalized. I will continue being supportive of the government as the chief whip. But on the other hand, I strongly believe it is important that we report the truth. I saw the governors of Mount Kenya region trying to downplay this issue. I saw other members of parliament, like my friend from Nyeri, Mheshimiwa Mbogo. Now, instead of listening to my message, he started killing the messenger. He is now becoming personal, as opposed to looking at the issues which I have raised. These issues have been raised in good faith. There is no malafide. They are all intended to ensure this government succeeds. But please, it is important as leaders to be candid and frank, particularly on matters constitution, because they help this country. This process is important, not only for me, but for the Kenyans, for our children, and for this government which we endeavor to serve. Thank you.
The President, my name is Hillary. The President, in what seeming like a response to you back in Vihiga, say that they can write letters, they can lecture me, but I'm in charge of this government. What do you say?
Definitely, I cannot engage with my superior. I strongly I agree with his sentiments, and it will be impolite for me to engage with my boss. Thank you.
Mheshimiwa, one of the serious criticism has been the letter was meant for the president, but it ended up in the press. Is that how you talk to your superior? Did you copy the letter to the president, or did you leak to the media? What happened? And who leaked? Who leaked? Who leaked?
Well, I cannot really tell that. Yes, I think that's an issue which I've expressed myself. I think we also need to understand the context of that letter. That letter was supposed to pass through Mr. Raphael Tuju. He is the Secretary General of the party. He is the custodian of all records of the party. It was then also copied to my majority leader, who is technically my colleague in the Senate. And therefore, for me, I think I did write that letter in good faith. By the way, let me tell you also. Now, surely I don't know.
It could be between the two.
No, please don't speculate. Please don't speculate. You'll be sued for defamation. Let me comment something. This is not the first time I'm raising matters concerning problems of BBI in our region. It's not the first time. If you follow news keenly, you recall there was a time members of parliament congregated at my business establishment, which is located in Karen Dagoretti area. And several members of parliament had attended. These are the issues we discussed. Then it was decided, we escalate that issue. The following day in Karen, we met one of the principals behind BBI. Again, I raised this issue. In fact, the majority leader of the National Assembly, Mr. Kemunya, rose and said, there's no problem at all with BBI in our region. Only for members of parliament from that region to rise in that meeting and say, no, indeed, there is a problem.
Have you ever raised this issue to the president as by virtue of your? What's your position?
Again, I've always been a respectful person. President Uhuru Kang'Ata is my personal friend. I have campaigned for President Uhuru Kang'Ata twice, 2013, 2017. In fact, I'm the only politician in this republic whose political motto had the name Kenyatta in it. I used to say, it's Kenyatta and Kang'Ata. In Kikuyu, ni Kenyatta na Kang'Ata. So I've been a strong supporter of President Uhuru Kang'Ata. So if for any reason that was to occur, there's nothing I can do. I just thank the party. For that period, I have served them as their leader. And I will remain respectful to my superiors and the authorities. I cannot enter into an arena of fighting with my boss, but I only strongly believe it is important as political leaders to say the truth, to report the truth, and to be honest and candid in our endeavor when it comes to matters like this one, which has potentiality to embarrass the government. By the way, I did not imply necessarily BBI will fail. You know, BBI can...
You didn't imply,
No, I didn't say that.
You didn't imply, you said it.
No, I think you ought to read that letter. You know, BBI can fail in Mount Kenya and it get endorsed in other regions. True or false? Of course. My observations were restricted to Mount Kenya region only. So it is possible for BBI to get endorsement in other regions, but it fails in Mount Kenya. That would have serious political repercussions on the government. Serious political repercussions, because it will mean there's a problem of government legitimacy in our region. Where I come from, where my president, whom I love so much, comes from. To me, that's my main concern. It's not really the issue of BBI passing or not. It is what political message will be sent if it turns out BBI gets problem in our region.
Some critics,
People say
some critics
you might be
Mashima,
shifting
say
allegiance.
you are already a mole to Tanga while you are in Jubilee.
Well, responding to that, also respond to people saying you might be shifting your allegiance to Ruto, in that you are supporting even what he's saying about Libya, multiple places, and so.
Yes, I think that's not the problem when it comes to matters constitutional. When good proposals come from whichever side, you now weaponize them. Instead of looking at the merit of a proposal, you start to bastardize that proposal just because it is coming from a certain quarter. That is the problem we have in this issue. Let me tell Kenyans that Kenya has had 3 constitutions. The 1963 constitution, the 1969 constitution, and the 2010 constitution. The most disliked constitution is the one of 1969. Why? Because it was pushed through Kenyans in a very partisan manner. It killed devolution. It started to undo democratic tenets of multipartyism. Ultimately, it started to whittle down our human rights. But the 1963 constitution and the 2010 constitution, the reason why they had a very good high rate of approval, it is because they were passed in a manner that was quite inclusive, where every Kenyan was involved. So for me, I'm trying to tell our leaders, please don't politicize this process. Ensure everyone is on board so that we have a constitution which has a very good rate of approval by Kenyans. So as to whether I'm shifting my political allegiance, let me tell Kenyans, myself as a whip, I believe in one united Jubilee. I work for the Jubilee Party. I work without considering those factions. I don't believe in divisions. I don't believe in hatred. I believe in unity, peace, and harmony in Senate.
Says a whip who has taken the lead of...
You are saying that, and your boss, the president, seems to have already decided that there is no longer a united Jubilee because from his sentiments recently. Why are you sort of in disagreement with your boss?
You see, let me tell you one thing. As a whip, I'll be measured on the basis of my output as a whip here. Whenever I mobilize senators to support a certain government cause, I'll not be measured as per how I create the divisions. So when I'm mobilizing senators here to pass government business, I mobilize everyone. If I was to dare take that route of trying to create the division, bills here are going to collapse. Yeah, for example, let me give you a good example. The other day we were passing, what is it called? The sports bill, isn't it? Surely, if let's say Kang'Ata senator said we are not going to attend our session, that bill would not have passed. So the whole idea, what happens outside, the whole idea, politics, I don't know which factions, for me as a whip, I cannot at any moment embed such kind of a political culture in my way of doing things. For me, I want unity. I push for a united house, a united party. Because I'll be measured on the basis of the output, which does not engender. I support factionalism.
You still believe that Jubilee is going to come back together and united as a whip?
And finally, you are given that position when others were ousted out of office. Do you have some experiences that you might appreciate your predecessors in office experience the same, that you think the challenges, just as you pointed out about your colleague, the counterpart in the National Assembly, who says actually you have demonstrated immaturity in politics?
Well, my counterpart is the one with a motion of ouster. Me, I don't have. I think if there is evidence of what he said, it is the fact that 6 months are not even, I think we are now on the 7th month since we assumed this office. He already has a motion of being ousted from his position because he is doing his business in a manner that is discriminative, in a manner that fosters divisions. Whenever there are meetings, he calls members of parliament from a certain faction. I think Kenya cannot be built through divisions. Senate or even National Assembly cannot be built through divisions. It can only go forward as through togetherness and through ensuring we mobilize people across the board. Thank you and God bless.
But it is the same Senate.